Hello and welcome. In this video, I'm going to be talking about generating a plot on View Editor from a viewpoint method in MagicDraw. So in this model, I have some dinosaur data, namely I have two blocks, height and weight, each owning 5 value properties that contain data about dinosaurs over the years. I would like to generate a line plot on View Editor using this data. Let's talk about the view diagram first. So here I have my view that I want to generate my plot to, named dinosaur data. First, I'm going to go ahead and take my dinosaur data package, drag it on here, and expose it from my view. This is allowing us to pass the block's height and weight into the viewpoint method. Next, I'm going to go ahead and create a viewpoint. I will give it a simple name. I'm going to go ahead and conform our view to this viewpoint. Great. Next, we need a viewpoint method diagram. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the operation create view. I'm going to go ahead and right click. I'm going to select create method diagram, viewpoint method diagram. And this is going to give us a new viewpoint method. Okay. To make our viewpoint method, we're going to begin with our initial node. And then we're going to take a collect owned elements. Go ahead and connect those up. Now we're going to use this collect owned elements to get all the elements in the dinosaur data package, the one that we exposed our view to. Next, since we're only interested in the 2 blocks, not all the value properties yet, we're going to go ahead and filter by stereotype. So scroll down to filter. Filter by stereotype. And we're going to connect these guys up. Then we will set, so in case you didn't catch that, I'm going to go into the specification of the filter by stereotype action. I'm going to scroll down to the very bottom, and I'm going to set stereotypes to block, since we are interested in blocks. Okay. All right. Now that we have that, we can go ahead and pass this into our plot structure. So if you come down to templates here, scroll all the way down to the bottom, you'll find a plot structure. I'm going to go ahead and make this large so we have plenty of room to see it. I'm going to connect it up in the flow. Okay, so plots take in table structures in order to generate them, and I'll talk about that more in a sec. But to give our plot a title, we're going to go ahead and go into the specification of it, scroll all the way down to the bottom, and here you can specify 3 things about your plot. The plot configuration, which is used for custom plots. The plot title, which is one thing that we're interested in here. I'm going to give it a name. And the plot type. Since we want a line plot, I'm going to go ahead and select C3 from the drop-down menu. All right, now we can close this. And as you can see, our plot title is here, and our plot type is there as well. Okay, so inside our plot, we're going to need to make an initial node. We're going to connect that to a table structure. This table structure is going to define how we pass, or how the data is used in the plot. Okay. First things first, in our table structure, we need an initial node as well. After that, we're going to make our columns. So the very first column of this table will define the names of the lines. So in the plot structure, the way that it uses a table, and there will be more on this in a little bit, is the first entry in a row is the name of that line, and every subsequent entry serves as the Y values of that line. That'll make sense more in a bit. Okay, so we need to insert our columns. Our very first column we want to be the name of the blocks. So we're going to choose table attribute column, drop that down and connect it up. And then we're going to go into the specification of table attribute column. We're going to scroll all the way down to the bottom. We're going to set desired attribute to name. So that means the first column of our table is going to contain the names of the blocks, so height and weight. The next columns we want to contain our data points. So we're going to use table property columns. Go ahead and connect this up. And in our table property column, we're going to scroll all the way down, and we're going to the property that we want to use. We're going to find the property that's on either one of these blocks since they have the same name. There we go. The last thing is we're going to give our column a name. I'm going to go ahead and fast forward through the next part while I create the rest of the columns. Okay, now that we have all of those, our viewpoint method diagram is getting a little bit complex, so I'm going to use one of the predefined layouts. Good, that makes it a little bit easier to read. Now, it is important that each column, except for the first column, be named. If the names are not desired to show up on the plot later, there's an option called hide headers in the table specification that can be used, and I'll show an example of that later. But it is best to have each column named, so I'm going to go ahead and do that now. Okay, now that I have that all done, I believe I'm missing two final nodes here, so I need my final node in the plot structure, and I need my final node of the whole diagram. Good, so this looks great. We're going to go ahead and commit our changes. Now that that's done, we'll come back to our view. We're going to right-click, select MMS, generate view contents. Good. In the notification window, we see updating, creating 3 elements to generate views. That's good. Now we're going to go ahead and switch over to the view, which I already have open in a browser window. But if you do not, you can right-click and select Open in View Editor. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and switch over. So here we go. The plot should now be generated. If it doesn't show up, go ahead and refresh the page, and it should show up then. So here we have our height and our weight lines. And as you can see, the x-axis values are labeled with year 1, year 2, year 3, etc. These come from the titles of the columns in the viewpoint method diagram. So if I switch back over to Magic Draw, open up our viewpoint method diagram, scroll down, it's this right here is what's being shown. This year 1, that is the name that's displayed on the x-axis. If we don't want it to look that way, we can go ahead and right-click, go to the specification of the table structure, scroll all the way down to the bottom, select Hide Headers, and set that to True. Go ahead and close that. Switch back to our view diagram, regenerate our view. Once that's done, we'll switch back over to our browser, refresh the page, and the x-axis values will be listed as numbers. There you go, 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. So this is how we generate a basic line plot on View Editor using a viewpoint method. Happy plot generation!